Ladies and gentlemen, sometimes the best thing you can do for your life is step back. Let them miss you. Let them feel your absence. Because when you remove your presence, you remove your energy, and that's when everything changes. You see, too many people chase after love, attention, and validation, begging to be seen, to be heard, to be valued. But here's the truth. The more you chase, the more they run. The more you give, the less they appreciate. The more you stay, the more they take you for granted. So today, I'm here to tell you, stop, pull back, focus on yourself, let them miss you, and watch how the world starts moving differently. You don't see gold lying around on the streets. You don't stumble upon diamonds in every backyard. Why? Because their rarity is what makes them valuable. Their absence, their scarcity, that's what creates demand. And the same thing applies to you. When you are always there, always available, always the one reaching out, showing up, making things happen, people stop appreciating you. They take you for granted. They assume you'll always be there, no matter how they treat you, no matter how they neglect you. Think about it. When was the last time you truly valued something you knew you could have any time? The truth is, people don't appreciate what is constantly within their reach. But the moment it's gone, the moment it's missing, that's when they start to see what they had. That's when they realize the presence they overlooked. That's when they finally understand the value of what they lost. When you give too much of yourself, your time, your energy, your love, without boundaries, without pause, people stop seeing it as a privilege. They see it as something they're entitled to. You ever notice how people treat free things? They don't care for them. They don't protect them. They don't cherish them. But put a price on it, make it rare, make it exclusive, and suddenly they want it. Suddenly they fight for it. And this is where most people go wrong. They think if they love harder, if they try more, if they give endlessly, that people will finally see their worth. But what actually happens? People start expecting it. They start assuming that no matter how they act, no matter how they treat you, you'll always be there. And when someone assumes you'll always be there, they stop working for your presence. They stop earning your time. They stop appreciating what you bring. But here's where the shift happens. The moment you step back, the moment you stop reaching out first, the moment you stop being the one who always fixes things, who always checks in, who always shows up, that's when the dynamic changes. That's when people notice. That's when they start wondering, wait, where did they go? Why aren't they calling? Why aren't they showing up? That absence, that space, that void, you let that do the talking. Because absence speaks louder than words. You see, people only truly recognize value when it's no longer available. That's human nature. It's in the space of loss that people gain perspective. They start remembering how you made them feel. They start realizing the energy you brought, the love you gave, the support you offered, and suddenly, what they once took for granted, they start craving. You ever see someone walk away from a relationship, from a friendship, from a job, thinking they'd be just fine without it? They think they can replace you, that you're just like everybody else. And then time passes, and they start realizing that you weren't just anybody. You were rare. You were valuable. You were the one who brought something they can't easily find again. And by the time they realize it, by the time they see your worth, it's too late, because you've already elevated, you've already moved on. This is the power of absence. This is why you have to stop begging people to see your worth. Stop overextending yourself for people who don't reciprocate. Stop being afraid to pull back, to walk away, to create space. Because in that space, clarity is born. In that absence, value is revealed. And let me tell you something. When you start treating yourself like something rare, the world has no choice but to do the same. When you stop chasing, people start noticing. When you stop proving yourself, people start wondering what they missed. Because a rare thing does not need to announce its worth. It just is. And those who recognize it will cherish it. Those who don't, they were never meant to have it in the first place. Not everyone deserves access to you. Not everyone should have the privilege of your time, your energy, your presence. You see, your energy is like a flame, powerful, bright, full of life. But if you're not careful, if you keep giving it to people who don't respect it, don't appreciate it, don't value it, they will drain you. They will take and take until there's nothing left. And the worst part, they won't even realize they did it. There are people in your life right now who only keep you around because they need what you bring. They need your light. They need your energy. They need your kindness, your strength, your love, your loyalty. But ask yourself, If you had nothing to offer them, would they still be there? If you stopped checking in, stopped giving, stopped sacrificing, would they still show up? See, this is where you have to be honest with yourself, because not everyone around you is for you. Not everyone clapping for you actually wants to see you win. Some people just want to be close enough to benefit from your fire, but not close enough to actually care about you. And this is where protecting your energy becomes non-negotiable. You can't afford to keep pouring into people who don't pour back into you. You can't keep allowing people to take up space in your life just because you have history, just because you're afraid to let go, just because you don't want to be alone. Sometimes the best thing you can do for yourself is step away and see who notices. Because real love, real loyalty, real friendship, it doesn't fade when you stop giving. It doesn't disappear when you set boundaries. It doesn't run away when you choose yourself. You ever notice how certain people only call when they need something? How they only reach out when they're in trouble, when they need your advice, your support, your presence? But the moment you need them, the moment you're the one struggling, silence. Now let me ask you something. Why do you keep making time for people who don't make time for you? Why do you keep allowing energy drainers to take from you without ever giving back? You have to start treating your energy like currency, like something valuable, because it is. You wouldn't hand out your money to just anybody, would you? You wouldn't let just anyone walk into your house and take what they want. So why do you let people have unlimited access to your mind, your heart, your spirit? You've got to start guarding it. You've got to start being selective, because not everyone deserves a seat at your table. Not everyone should have the privilege of knowing your thoughts, hearing your dreams, feeling your love. And let me tell you, when you start pulling back, when you start protecting your peace, some people are going to get upset. They're going to call you selfish. They're going to say you've changed. They're going to act like you're the problem. But understand this. People who benefited from your lack of boundaries will always be the ones who get mad when you finally set them. And that's okay. Let them be mad. Let them talk. Let them wonder. Because your job is not to keep everyone happy. Your job is to protect your energy so you can show up fully for the people who actually deserve it. You see, when you start protecting your energy, your life starts changing. You start attracting better people. You start feeling lighter, stronger, more at peace. You start realizing that half the stress you carried wasn't even yours. It was from people who never should have been that close to you in the first place. And the more you step back, the clearer everything becomes. You start seeing who really cares. You start noticing who still checks in, who still shows up, who still makes an effort. Because real connections don't fade just because you create space. So, stop feeling guilty for putting yourself first. Stop apologizing for choosing peace over chaos, solitude over fake friendships, growth over comfort. Because the truth is, when you protect your energy, you protect your future. And not everyone is meant to come with you. Sometimes the best thing you can do is step away, not to prove a point, not to play games, but to grow, to heal, to become the person you were meant to be. Because growth doesn't happen when you're constantly explaining yourself. It doesn't happen when you're begging people to understand you, to see your worth, to treat you right. No, growth happens in the silence, in the distance, in the moments when you choose yourself over the noise. See, people think that staying in the same place, around the same people, doing the same things means they're being loyal. They think that if they just keep holding on, things will get better. But let me tell you something. Sometimes holding on is what's keeping you from growing. Sometimes staying in the same environment is what's stunting your progress. Because not every place, not every person, not every situation is meant to come with you on your journey. And the longer you force yourself to stay, the longer you delay your own evolution. You ever wonder why some of the greatest transformations happen in isolation? Why the most successful, the most disciplined, the most powerful people take time away before they step into their greatness? It's because distance brings clarity. When you're in the middle of the noise, when you're constantly surrounded by people who doubt you, who drain you, who don't believe in you, it's hard to see yourself clearly. It's hard to hear that inner voice telling you where you need to go. But when you step away, when you give yourself space, that's when things start making sense. And here's what happens when you create that distance. People start paying attention. The ones who never listened before suddenly want to know what you're thinking. The ones who overlooked you start wondering where you went. Because when you remove yourself, when you stop explaining, when you stop proving, the absence speaks for itself. People start realizing what you brought to the table. They start feeling the gap you left. And that's when you know you were never the problem. But see, here's the real magic. When you step away to grow, when you focus on yourself instead of chasing validation, something powerful happens. You start changing. You start evolving into a version of yourself that doesn't need to prove anything to anyone. You start leveling up in ways that make the old version of you unrecognizable. And when the people who once doubted you, who once overlooked you, finally come back around, you won't even be in the same place anymore. You ever notice how people suddenly respect you more when you stop needing their approval? How they start treating you differently when they see you've built something on your own? That's because growth demands respect. When you separate yourself, when you put in the work, when you take time to build yourself up, people can't help but notice. And the best part, by the time they do, you won't even need their validation anymore. See, people don't respect what's always available. They respect what they have to work for. And when you level up, when you elevate, you become something rare. You become something people can't just access whenever they feel like it. And that's when the dynamic changes. That's when the same people who took you for granted start wondering how they lost you. That's when they start realizing they should have appreciated you when they had the chance. But by then, you're already gone. By then, you're already walking in your purpose, already living in your growth, already standing in your power. And that's the beauty of distance. It not only shows you who truly values you, but it transforms you into someone who no longer needs the validation of those who don't. The most powerful thing you can do is go silent, not in anger, not in spite, but in strength, in wisdom. Because sometimes words don't change a thing. Arguments don't make people understand. Explanations don't open their eyes. But absence is loud. Absence is undeniable. Absence makes people feel what words never could. See, when you pull back, when you stop calling, stop texting, stop showing up, people start noticing, they start wondering, they start feeling that shift. Because as long as you're there, as long as you keep giving, as long as you keep pouring yourself into people who don't appreciate you, they have no reason to change. They have no reason to see you differently. People don't value what's always there. They don't cherish what they believe they'll never lose. That's why some of the most valuable lessons are learned in loss. Not when you yell, not when you argue, not when you try to force them to see your worth, but when you walk away and let them experience life without you. That silence, that's when they start replaying the moments, the conversations, the things they should have appreciated, the love they didn't reciprocate. And nothing is more powerful than the realization of what's been lost. You ever notice how people suddenly remember you when you stop reaching out? How they suddenly care when you no longer care? That's because when you step away, you shift the power. When you remove your presence, you remove their comfort. And when people lose comfort, they start reflecting. They start seeing you differently. Not because you said anything, not because you proved anything, but because your absence did all the work. This is why you have to stop explaining yourself. Stop trying to convince people of your value. Stop fighting for people to treat you right. Just step back. Just disappear for a while. Because when you're always available, when you're always the one making the effort, people get used to it. They don't appreciate it. But the moment you stop, the moment you let go, that's when they wake up. That's when they start wondering why the energy shifted, why things feel different, why they suddenly miss what they never acknowledged before. And let me tell you something, when people start missing you, when they start realizing what they lost, they have two choices. They either come back with respect or they fade away because they never really valued you to begin with. And both outcomes, they're a win for you. Because the ones who truly care will make the effort. They will show up. They will appreciate you the way they should have all along. And the ones who don't, they were never meant to stay. They were never truly for you. That's the power of letting absence do the work. It separates the real from the fake. It exposes who's genuine and who was just there for convenience. And most importantly, it frees you. It frees you from chasing, from proving, from bending over backward for people who wouldn't do the same for you. Because once you realize that your energy, your time, your presence is a privilege, not a right, you stop giving it away so easily. You stop begging people to appreciate you. You stop settling for less than what you deserve. And here's the truth. When you walk away, when you go silent, when you stop showing up for people who wouldn't do the same for you, you don't lose anything. You gain clarity. You gain self-respect. You gain peace. And in that peace, in that space, in that silence, you become something even more powerful. You become someone they can't ignore. You become someone they can't replace. Because the moment they realize what they lost is the moment you realize you never needed them to begin with. So, I challenge you today, take your power back. Stop begging, stop chasing, stop proving yourself to people who don't see your worth. Step away, focus on you, and let them miss you. And when they do, watch how everything in your life begins to change. You are not common, you are not replaceable, you are a force. And when you realize that, the world has no choice but to recognize it too. Now go, stand tall, walk away when necessary, and let them miss you.